Hey, it's your old pal Slim, and welcome to a special bonus episode of 70mm, a podcast for film fans just like you. With me, as always, is artist Danny Haas.
Hello.
And our spiritual advisor, Pertalexis.
Kevin Bacon is in this. Did anybody know this?
We also have a special Halloween treat this episode. Our producer at large and something of a horror movie connoisseur himself back on the show. Welcome, Dale.
Hey guys, it's great to be back. Also in this movie, Pamela Voorhees' teeth, huh?
Those chompers.
As this episode drops, it's Friday the 13th. We usually have a horror-themed drop every year. Last year, maybe Proto's favorite, it was Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, Proto.
Oh my God, yes.
Proto's head
He's
just
a
went
right
back
now.
in bliss.
His black facial hair, and him reeling back like that, it was like in front of him is a case that holds a sniper rifle in 4 or 5 different pieces, and he's just ready to just finish his job.
Proto, do you think we'll be able to top what you thought of Season of the Witch last year with Friday the 13th this year? Is it possible for you to top it in any way?
It's hard to do, but I mean, last year we didn't have Dale with us, so we have the X Factor this time.
The X Factor. That's right. Just returned. This is old news, but literally off the plane from a return trip from Italy. Our producer at large doing probably, we would assume, business deals that we'll be hearing about over the next coming weeks and days. But how was that trip for you, Dale?
Distribution in Italy for podcasts is huge. It's up and coming, and I was there. Italy was it was a great time. It was a life-changing experience. We got to live like we didn't have a budget, like we didn't have a care. We didn't have bedtimes. We had kids on 18 hours of iPad a day.
The Italian dream.
And then you tell them that we got to leave to go to dinner. So they have to leave the house for once that day, and the blowback that we would receive.
I can't even imagine.
30 days of core family, nuclear family, all in an Airbnb.
Yeah, I saw you got to log quite a bit of movies though over the month. You didn't let the trip stop you. When was it? Was that after everyone's asleep, or
yeah, that was me.
Dale in the bathroom with his phone, 20 minutes at a time of random movies.
That was me at 12:30 a.m. Italy time, after everybody has gone to bed, and 2 days before my trip, my iPad died. So my stepmom let me borrow her iPad, but it was her. She didn't want me to wipe it for whatever reason, So, I didn't have access to our iCloud password. So I only had access to the apps that I could log into locally. And that was Amazon Prime Video and Netflix. And so, but Amazon, you log into Amazon Prime, you can't stream anything from Italy. There's nothing available to stream. So I could only watch what I had previously purchased. So I'm I'm just like, what can I watch? I buy these movies and I don't want to watch them again. You know what I mean? Maybe I watched them once. So I'm watching the best of what I had in my library at the time. Yeah, but it was late nights for me because I needed to decompress.
Let's decompress together with Friday the 13th for Friday the 13th Halloween this year.
Yeah.
As regular listeners know, we watched the Jaws franchise together, the 4 of us. We completed that franchise. We're not making any promises about Friday the 13th, the franchise, right now. Okay, we're not committing to anything. We don't even know how this conversation is going to go. Could go very badly, for all we know. But Friday the 13th is our main course for this discussion. Pardo, what's this movie about?
Friday the 13th takes place at Is it Lake Placid? Crystal Lake. I got it, guys. Crystal Lake,
Oh my God.
which apparently is in New Jersey. Is this true?
It is true.
This could be in your backyard.
Hope,
for all
New
we
Jersey.
know.
North Jersey.
I didn't know this. So this is great news. Jason Voorhees murdering children in New Jersey. So there's this camp, Crystal Lake. They're getting ready. It's been closed, back and forth, open, close, snip, snap. It's opening again. And there's, I guess are they like college students age? I don't know. I don't know how old these
Could be high
these
school, for all I
actors-
know.
Mm-hmm.
But they're camp counselors, so they're getting the camp ready. And they're gonna have sex while they're getting this camp ready. They're gonna be playing strip Monopoly. Inventive. I didn't even know you could play. I didn't have
Smart.
Smart. But there's a murder. There's someone who wants to kill them, and this person will go to great lengths to do this, hiding under bunk beds for hours at a time, until almost everyone is dead. And that killer is then revealed in a final showdown with the final girl, and she gets decapitated. And that's Friday the 13th.
Oh my God. What an ending. What a
Yeah.
friggin' ending. We'll get into it. Save it for the show. Usually we go round table with 3 things for each host, but we have 4 hosts. Maybe we'll just do 2, top 2 to contain our excitement. And at the top of the show, I said Dale is kind of like a horror connoisseur. Do you remember the first time you saw Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th Part 1, I probably didn't watch until my early 20s. So this is, of the core 8 movies or whatever, this is probably the one I've seen the least, only because, the USA Network 10 times a year would play like Friday the 13th, 4 through 7. So I've seen those oodles of times in my life. And at some point I was probably, I must have been working at West Coast at the time, but I said, you know what? I got to see these other ones. I got to get off my A.
Yeah.
Inspired by the VHS re-releases of Star Wars
Oh my God.
in 1997. I was inspired to go back and see Friday the 13th. And it's now, it's now in my rotation, but I won't watch this as much as I watch the other ones for my comfort eating, but it's a classic up there all the same.
Yeah, the poster is pretty classic. I think today was the first time I ever zoomed in to see that there was kids in that drawing at the poster.
Is that
Like,
really?
Yeah, the outline of the killer on the poster.
Yeah.
There's like a drawing of the kids or the camp, like in that image in the forest.
And there was at a certain point when I had an eBay account and money,
Mm-hmm.
I went crazy on eBay buying movie posters, and I did buy the Friday the 13th movie poster even before I saw the movie. I remember that.
What year was your eBay account created? Mine's from 2001.
1998.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. Making me look like an idiot.
No, come on. We're all in this together.
Danny, what is your history with the Friday the 13th franchise, Jason, and this movie?
I don't have a history with it outside of just knowing Jason as a pop culture icon, horror icon. And I watched this for the first time maybe a year or 2 ago when I started watching horror films as a horror film watcher. So I've only seen this once. This is my second time viewing this movie.
Right, you were like a born again horror fan.
Born
years
again,
ago.
yeah. I came to Jesus.
Came to Jason.
Came to Jason for a good time, and yeah, this is only my second viewing of this movie, so I have no history with this franchise.
What about your eBay account? Creation date?
A year.
It's old. I don't know what it is.
Log in right now.
Hold on,
We can edit this. This
2020.
out.
Hold on. I don't even know. Am I even logged in? Well, I have like 3 accounts.
2001. I mean,
You know,
that was
you have the hidden account.
Right.
right?
Hidden
Reckon-
PayPal. You got to
Right.
move money around. You got to move logins around.
I don't even know.
Remember when we first discovered that we could buy things on eBay?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, you talk about a game change.
How unstoppable did you feel when you could Google a phrase, like something you would see on TV or something, and you find it on eBay because you can't find it anywhere else locally to you?
The amount of bull crap that I bought
Mm-hmm.
using eBay as a teen. Sheesh.
I have to reset my pass. I don't even
Oh
know.
my God.
Hold on.
Dang.
Proto,
Okay.
what about you? And
talk it through.
while Danny searches, let's hear about your backstory.
Yeah, I had never seen Friday the 13th. This is my first viewing. And my only real exposure to this was probably more of those video games that came out. Like I would watch some streams of these games because it was kind of like a new type of game that came out where it's like 5 people on a server, 4 people are trying to survive and one person's the killer. So this like maybe 10 years ago, these games started coming out. And I think there's like an official Friday the 13th game that came out. And there's like a bunch of different other ones. So that was maybe my only exposure. And really, to be honest, I couldn't have told you who Jason was or who Michael Myers was. Like I wouldn't have known if Michael Myers was in Friday the 13th or not. Like I was clueless because I just like had no exposure to these. And I mean, honestly, I've watched this one and I barely understand how Jason Voorhees is a character in this series
That's amazing.
today.
That's amazing. That's amazing, Pro.
I was going to say my eBay account, don't let me blow your minds, but I actually don't have one. I've never had one
Whoa!
because I don't buy other people's trash.
Oh my God.
Man, Pro, come on. Jeez.
Where do I go to see the date?
It should just be, click on your account username. It should be on that page.
Like since
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Somebody
hold
walk
on.
the dog here.
There we go. 2002.
Okay.
June.
okay. Pretty good.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's not bad.
Since Pro, this is the first time viewing for Pro, maybe we should hear
Let's hear from
from
him.
him.
This is crazy. I can't.
Yeah.
I just like. I love Pro. I love him, and to get these views, I love it. Whether it's good or bad, it's amazing to
Mhm.
have some fresh eyes.
Lake Placid.
Lovely Lake
I,
Placid shirt, Slim. You have.
I was very envious of these camp counselors. To think to be going to be a counselor at a camp in your, I don't know, if you're late teens or early 20s, very horny
Mhm.
with like a bunch of chicks, dudes getting freaky. I feel like I missed this opportunity, and I wish I could go back to experience this because this looked like it would have been the time of your life to have this job.
Absolutely.
I never had any opportunity to just go have sex for weeks at a time at a camp. I don't know what. Maybe only the attractive kids were able to do this. They go to camp, they have sex constantly.
Because their attractive parents already know
Right.
the hookups, like how to get them in.
Mhm.
Right.
You're smoking doobs.
Imagine. Like, even if the kids come for 2 weeks at a time, there's like 5 sets a summer, but you're there the entire time.
Yeah.
Imagine the Amazon movies you could watch from your purchased
That's what
library.
we would be doing. Those kids would be having sex. We'd be the janitors of the camp. We'd be watching Amazon Prime locally downloaded movies all night while we're covering our ears trying to prevent us from hearing the humping next door.
Right.
Oh my God. Yeah, the Camp Crystal Lake. I mean, I just realized I'm wearing
You
a
are
Camp
wearing it.
Crystal
You
running
psycho.
shirt, and I didn't even realize it. But my comment was like, man, Camp Crystal Lake has become a cultural thing. Like you see Camp Crystal Lake merch out the friggin' wazoo.
Oh yeah. Etsy.
Like, yeah, Halloween Adventure, Spirit Halloween. They
Oh, yeah.
probably got
Oh,
like
my
a whole aisle dedicated to Jason at this point. So, I mean, the franchise is like undeniable, whether or not the movies are any good, as you go through the series. But it's become one of those. I was listening to an interview with a guy who co-created Mortal Kombat, and he was talking about like the lasting impact of it. And he called it like a forever franchise. That like
Jeez.
it will exist in some iteration and form probably forever. And he was like kind of comparing it to Marvel in that way, but I think he's right. And I think Friday the 13th is one of those franchises that will probably always exist in some way, shape, or form, probably forever.
Did Friday the 13th as a like thing exist before the movie? Like on the date on the calendar? Like was it like, oh God, it's Friday the 13th. It's spooky season. Or did this put it on the map?
For some reason, I want to say that this movie put it on the map.
Really?
I want to say.
Because when I think of Friday the 13th, I don't think of anything else besides Jason.
I remember hearing about Friday the 13th just being one of those unlucky days, like, ooh, it's Friday the 13th.
Yeah,
but I don't know
that-
if it was ever connected to the movie. I might have heard it. Well, I was going to say I heard it when I was a kid, but this movie had already been out by that point, so who knows? I don't know.
I was thinking about my camp days as a child.
You went to
watching
camp?
this. Oh, I went to camp a ton.
What?
Not as a counselor. My parents would drop me off at camp in the summers by myself. No friends. And I would go to camp. But then I'm watching this like, were these counselors like
Yes.
before I got there? Like
Oh,
on my
yeah.
bunk bed?
On your bed.
Yes.
Mm.
I mean, I get that it was a church camp, but we know church counselors.
I mean, you saw the church kids at the front of this. They're singing
right,
hymns,
Kumbaya,
and then they're leaving to go.
straight to the attic
Then
Mhm.
of the
Leaving to get-
barn.
hymned.
Right.
Well, that is a good point. I did go to church camp. We called it youth camp. So I went
Oh.
to that from like the age of 12 to 17, senior in high school. And then I actually I was like a counselor one year, but it was church camp. It didn't really count as this.
Yeah, I went to youth. This was before though. I went to like a camp in the woods. It was with the church-ish, but I had like youth camp, but that was all run by our own church. But I went to some random camp in the woods growing up. Yeah, no friends either. My parents just dropped me off.
That's hardcore, dude.
Right?
I will say that
Your parents
Seeing
got
the-
nuts.
the camp bathroom though, like immediately I could
Yeah.
smell the wet concrete of
Mhm.
a camp bathroom, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
one of the most noticeable, memorable smells. The
Yeah.
urine mixed with just like dampness at all times.
A whole lot of other fluids.
She didn't have shoes on.
Ugh.
She didn't have shoes.
She didn't
on.
have
There was
shower
one scene
shoes on.
she's running through like the mud and the rain to like get to that bathroom, like after she was done fornicating,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
her feet were not muddy. Like, well, what's going on here? You should have the most disgusting like mud all over your lower body from
Right.
running through this mud to use the bathroom.
But don't worry, she put a raincoat on. But went barefoot into the woods.
And then she gets back to her cabin with this, like she's going to use an old shirt she's going to let her muddy feet dry and then use an old shirt to like bat the dirt off of her feet because there's nothing else you can do at that point.
I mean, barefoot in the woods, that's a recipe for potential death, I feel like. One false move, your ankle's going upside down. You're getting poked with random things.
Mhm.
Roots, tree root. I
root.
don't know.
Lacerations.
Yeah. Danny, what's at the top of your list for this feeling?
I have to say the top of my list. I have two things.
Please.
Obviously. I'm going to talk about the fact that Jason isn't the killer in this. And it blew my mind. And it blows my mind every time. Well, the second time I've watched this. When I first watched it, you have like Jason as like the icon of Friday the 13th. And I'm just assuming we get the quick backstory in the beginning of the movie. And I thought that he'd just be the killer the entire time. My brain tells me it's Jason the entire time because of what I know of Friday the 13th. When it turns out to be his mom the whole time and Jason isn't in this, I feel like my brain exploded watching it for the first time. And it really viscerally kind of sends me again watching it the second time. Like, Jason isn't the bad guy in this. And I'm blown away every time. And the mom, she's incredible.
Yeah.
Like, she's so creepy, and her eyes, her even just being like short and then the sweater, like there's something about her that just creeps me out. But I'm blown away that Jason's not the bad guy in this or just the killer at all. Like it just breaks my brain thinking about it, that we have a entire franchise devoted to him and he was just the kid that drowned in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see him at the end, which is awesome, but I'm blown away by that, the story in this.
To think, like people who go back and watch it for the first time, who know that Jason is part of pop culture, and to see that, it's kind of like earth shaking in that you can't ever do that again in another franchise or another attempt, because it's going to be like, oh, this is just Friday the 13th all over again. But the fact that it's done, and at the time, you know, they probably didn't even know if they were going to make a second one with featuring Jason Voorhees, but just to know that this is like I don't know, like pull the wool over your eyes in a movie, and it's the cornerstone of a franchise that the world knows over, whether they've seen it or not, and to know that Jason isn't the killer, but it's Jason's mother, and you don't find out until the very end.
I was trying to think. I just looked up Friday the 13th Part 2. My review, I gave it 2 stars. Cool. But was like the ending of this supposed to just allude to the fact that, like, did they mention that Jason died in this movie? I can't even remember. Like, did he drown, or was he just like teased and?
They said he drowned.
Yeah, he drowned.
Oh, he did drown. Okay, yeah, because I try to think of like what the heck is the plot of the second movie? He like is just alive, and maybe everyone was lying about him drowning. I don't even remember. But what did you think of the big reveal?
I was flabbergasted that it was his mom. But I also felt like I couldn't make sense of how it made sense either. Of like the girl who gets killed first. I think like what is it? There's like the hitchhiker, right?
The cook.
Right.
Jeep,
yeah.
She gets picked up in the Jeep.
Yeah. But then there's also the guy who's like the head counselor who leaves on a Jeep. So I think that's kind of like
It's
a
like
little
the same
misdirection.
exact Jeep too.
Right?
They're like identical.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
So that was kind of weird. But yeah, the idea that this doesn't even have Jason, and I'm trying to think of another comparison. But it almost feels like if you had a first Batman movie and Batman wasn't in it.
Right.
It's just so weird to look back, but it totally makes sense if like you make this movie and maybe they thought, oh, this is just going to be like another B movie. You know, we made it on a little budget, but it got popular and it's like, oh, we can make a sequel. Where we're going to go with it. So the idea of like having like that there's this giant franchise now that you see everywhere and the main character wasn't even in the first movie. It's so wild.
Yeah, you have to like put yourself in the place of this movie first coming out and with no franchise in mind, because it's like, yeah, they may drive the same kind of Jeep, but if they're trying to tease like, oh, this guy running the camp could be the killer, that's pretty good way to do it. Like, oh, they're driving the same Jeeps without any idea of like, no one knows who Jason is when you're first seeing this movie in the 80s or whenever. So it's like kind of genius, but for us, it's like, where's Jason? Where's our big man in a hockey mask brooding and killing kids? Like, this is what I was expecting.
And every time I watch this, I grumble. You brought up the Steve and his Jeep. I think it had to have been to throw the audience off. Like, Steve's gone, so he must be the killer. But they paid this guy for one day's work. This guy's not even in the movie.
He's doing nothing.
Yeah.
He's doing nothing. They did a pretty good job of like the red herrings, I thought. Like the old crazy man was like, remember they made a mention, oh, he's missing. He left town. No one can see him. And then the lead counselor. And then the dude that like kills the snake. And kind of, acts ominously after he kills the snake.
Yeah, he was like lurking. That's the first time I noticed it in this movie too. He like lurks over dead snake. Like they focus on him for like 3 seconds of him just like has the bloodlust creepy out of him.
Very creepy. Also, that scene is just creepy in general. Like that's a real snake getting
killed. Yeah.
Right?
That's not fake.
D-bag move.
That's just a black racer.
Oddly enough, I just looked up Friday the 13th Part 2, released a year later. Steve Miner directed it. Steve Miner also directed Lake Placid.
What?
I
got the chills.
That is real.
See?
That is very real.
He's got that miner in him.
Got that dog in him. I only gave Part 2 stars. I didn't really like it in 2019. I mean, there's some pretty cool scenes in it, but not a whole lot of memorable moments that I can remember. Dale, what's at the top of your list for this viewing?
I got to, first, compliments to you guys. It's in your head, but when I do the show twice a year now, it's still hard to try to make a list of topics to talk about. It's when I think our girl in question who fixed the plumbing and then bathed herself and then cleaned up before bed, when she's settling in for the night and she hears that "help me" in the middle of the rainstorm.
Oh my God.
I'm getting chills now thinking about how effective that is, placing yourself in the middle of the woods where you're if there's 8 of you and you're all in different places as soon as the sun goes down, you're effed in that place anyway. Like a cabin could be 500 feet from you, but it's might as well be infinity feet from you. And then it's pouring buckets, and you hear "help me." Like, do you just close your eyes and hope eventually the "help me" stops and worry about the repercussions later? That's
you plug
insane.
your headphones into your iPad.
Yes. Right. And then you start watching Resident Evil, the final chapter with noise canceling on.
I mean, we haven't gone camping in a while, but we'll go to like a campsite and we'll have our tent set up. And then you have to go to like the outdoor, stall setup where there's like 4 bathroom and showers, but they're like, 500 feet away or longer from your campsite. So I wake up in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh my God, I got to pee so bad.
Right.
And then you have to go out at like 3 a.m., the dead of night.
No way.
With your phone flashlight and walk to that bathroom. I mean, that's as scary as it gets.
Yeah.
I'd piss in my sleeping bag before I did any of that.
Well, sometimes we'll have a dog that needs to like go out, and they're like, rummaging around the tent, like, all right, let's go out.
Right.
And I mean, you're thinking like, all right, if there's an animal out here, can you take that animal for me? Because I'm legitimately frightened.
I've seen your dogs.
The dog
Not
is
one
either
of your dogs is taking another animal out.
I would be like, does the dog have to use the bathroom, or is the dog going to go kill a raccoon? Like, I would be on edge if he's rummaging around the tent.
Yes.
To that point, Dale, the "help me" thing, that's actually kind of based in like a little bit of lore in the Appalachian Mountains, because if you talk to people who've lived there long enough, they say that like if you get into like the skinwalker business, if you hear like "help me" being said from the woods, you go the other way. You don't help. And what they do is they mimic voices of people like your husband, your wife, your kids. And that's like the lore in the woods in the Appalachian. Like if you hear "help me," you start going the other way. Slowly. You don't run. Like it's a real thing. If you search like Appalachian "help me," you're gonna find videos of people recording something in the woods saying "help me."
I need to look up this.
My you don't know about this?
No, I thought you would know. I never knew that there was like videos of people were recording.
And that's like, how much do you want to believe these people? Mm-hmm. But then you can kind of tell if like they're faking it. But then you could tell like people who are actually scared of what's happening. You can see real fear.
Oh my God.
But "help me" is like a thing you hear in like the Appalachian stories, where you just hear it in the woods. You don't respond to it. You don't call back to it. You don't acknowledge it. And that's the thing. Like when I heard it this time, I'm like, oh yeah, don't go out there.
Right.
Nope. No one's asking for help. You're going to get killed.
Pro, have you ever heard voices in your camping up in the mountains trips?
Voices at night? No, but I have definitely been freaked out that I'm not going to be able to get back to the tent, because you don't realize how dark it is. Even with a flashlight, it's like you got like a little spotlight in front of you and then just blackness everywhere. So I remember me and my friend, we wanted to go look at the stars. So we had our campsite up the hill, but then we had to walk down. We had to like cross 2 streams.
Oh my God.
Jesus.
And it's like, you can't, like you during the day, you're trying to like look around and like, all right, here's landmarks so I know. But then at night, it's a totally different game. And you can very easily you take one wrong step and you're done. You're not finding anything. So I haven't heard voices, but I had that. But the funny thing about youth camp was we'd always play a game. I think it was called Fugitive, where people would go out and hide in the woods, and then other teams would have to find them with flashlights. Every year there was a 12-year-old who got lost.
Yep.
Help!
Help me.
So in reality, you did hear some of those voices.
Kill it.
Demonic mimicry. I guess my first point is I love the kills in this movie. I thought they were all pretty rough.
Nasty.
The one like was it the knife or the poker from underneath the bunk
Kevin
bed?
Bacon's death.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon's throat. It's funny, the HD version of this. I don't think where did I stream this? Maybe it was Max, no 4K, but even the HD of the transfer of this movie, you can see kind of like the skin discoloration on like, the fake neck trying to compare to like Kevin Bacon's. And I think there was another throat slashing scene where there was like, more greenish looking skin than the human skin. But even so, I thought they were all pretty cool. Like that one girl got like an axe to the head.
Nasty.
And then of course the decapitation scene, which is just baller.
With her hands like still moving after the decapitation happens.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I think this was from the master of horror himself, Tom Savini.
Savini
did some work on this movie. So yeah, that's my main point. I think they all hold up pretty well. They're pretty cool.
The Kevin Bacon one is in my notes. I thought I remembered it from the first time, so I was just kind of waiting the second time, and it's a gross. Like it's really bad. I don't know why it's so. Like even watching, I know we'll talk about Hellraiser at some point and how gross that stuff is, but for me, that just the one arrow through the throat, it just sends me bad. Like it's like nothing else. There's his facial reaction, but the sound and just the visual of it is really it's really unsettling.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a nice little delay before that of him just like sitting there in the bed. And you're like, what's going to happen here? And it's like a minute later he gets the poker through the throat.
I like that. Like he lets it get all the way through his neck. Like if I'm laying in a camp bed and the instant something slightly pokes my neck, I'm jumping, he lays there for the whole thing.
He's like, maybe it'll stop. Maybe
it'll stop.
Feeling a strong pain in the back of my neck. Now it's in the middle of my neck.
It'll stop.
It's in the middle. Well, it's in the middle of my trachea.
Yeah, I also forget that he's in this. I feel like people talk about Johnny Depp in the first Nightmare on Elm Street a lot, but I never hear Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th as much.
How about the that grimy pillow he's laying on? That's been in there since 58 when the previous camp counselors died.
I wrote down Kevin Bacon's swim trunks. Mamma mia. Those things were painted on. Christ alive. If I had a body like Kevin Bacon, I'd probably wear swim trunks like that too.
I just would nude if I looked like Kevin Bacon like that. What's the point?
Pardo, final point?
My second point was going to be Kevin Bacon because I was flabbergasted seeing him in this. And I'm looking at his filmography now. So this came out in 1980. It says he was in Animal House in 1978. That's like his first billing. I don't know if he had like a major role in that. I don't remember Animal House. And then it was 84 when he did Footloose. So I don't know if that was like the first movie that really put him on the map. Mm-hmm. But it's pretty early for Kevin, 1980.
Would love to do a Footloose episode. FYI.
Legendary movie.
Next Friday.
You have the power.
We just devote Friday the 13th to Kevin Bacon.
To Kevin Bacon movies.
There's the scene where I think it's after they were swimming and then they're walking back and there's like a flash of lightning. And it's clearly like someone just like turned a spotlight on Kevin Bacon. It like doesn't look like a flash of lightning at all. It's really endearing production there. I have another note. How many times can Kevin Bacon orgasm? It seemed like they were.
Yeah,
he was doing something special.
Machine.
It was a different time.
In camp, anything is possible.
It can happen at camp. Were those all your final points, or are you drifting your honorable mentions?
No, those are just my Kevin Bacon points.
Let's see. So who was next? I guess it was Danny. Final point?
Sure. I love the ending with the final girl. After she's decapitated, she's spent the night on the boat in the middle of the lake, and then kid Jason comes out of the water and kind of drowns her or whatever. And then she wakes up in the hospital. I like the almost fantastical element to that storyline of, he's still alive, but she either she didn't imagine it because they tell her that all the kids are dead, but like them not finding Jason's body or she's telling him he's still alive in the lake or whatever. I really liked that ending. I think it's a lot of fun, especially after the bamboozle of it's Mrs. Voorhees the whole time, but Jason, like, he looked gross coming out of that water. It was really rad. I really like that ending.
He looks so foul.
Yeah.
Coming out of that water.
The algae alone.
Yeah, I always forget that that's not like the real ending, and then she does wake up in the hospital, and it's kind of like vague if that ever did happen, and if Jason is alive. I always just think that like ends almost on like a freeze frame of her getting pulled into the water, but that's not the case.
That's great. That's a great ending.
Dale, final point.
The way Enos, the truck driver at the beginning, drives the hitchhiker like to Crystal Lake or close to Crystal Lake. I mean, they're in the car for 20 minutes, a half hour. He could do a better job of not being a dick and explaining to her exactly why she shouldn't be going to this camp.
Right.
It's just like there's all these, it's all left vague. You're really going, huh? You're crazy. And like they're just trading barbs back and forth. She's like, you're an American original. Like he's just like calling her a piece of shit for going to this camp. Nobody knows. Like maybe tell her. Maybe spend some time explaining to her exactly what happened and why maybe he's calling her crazy to begin with, and why everybody in the diner is treating her like a foreign object.
Yeah, I mean, what is the how many people were killed? That like is the horrifying part of Camp Crystal Lake. Were all the kids killed? Just the two?
Just the two.
And then they bring up fires. There was fires too.
Oh yeah, they do bring up fires in the diner.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like because I honestly couldn't remember. Like, is it really that bad? You know, how many years ago they just shut the camp down? Like, is it that horrifying? Like, yes, 2 kids were killed, but like, they make it sound like 100 children were murdered and like burned alive. Like, oh my God, you're going to Camp Crystal Lake. You can't go to Camp Crystal Lake. You know?
I think there may have been like more happenings afterwards every year, and then they finally shut it down. I think the fires in the diner were like a second year or a different year.
Gotcha. I don't have a final point. I'll just look through my honorable mentions. I like the music. I was getting Psycho vibes.
That's exactly what I wrote down. I wrote down knockoff Jaws / Psycho music.
Yeah. Time.
It really goes hard.
It's iconic.
The ch-ch-ch.
Yeah. Oh my God. So good. I love when that starts the movie up, you know, and that's like the first thing you hear. But the way that old dude rode his bike, like his back was stiff as a board. It's almost like he's standing upright riding that bike. Blow my mind. Also, there's just that long shot of him riding his bike away.
Yeah.
Like into the woods. It was like a 30-second shot of this old man riding his bike away from the girl.
That's old Ralph. He's hiding in the pantry.
Yes. He's like suddenly in the pantry. For what reason?
Oh, the music too, Slim.
Yeah.
It also, the piano stuff really reminded me of Twin Peaks too.
Oh, interesting.
There's a lot of vibes.
Harry Manfredini.
I liked the whole final segment with Mrs. Voorhees. I love her, you know, entrance. She just comes out of that Jeep, you know, like sweater on and everything. Her knife that she has like at her side. So cool.
I'd like to ask Pro, at what point did you know that she was the killer? Like as soon as she appeared on screen?
Yeah, I think like when she showed up, but some of my notes, like I was just assuming it was Jason because like that's what I thought it was. So I have like one of my notes, I said, so he was under the bed the whole time they were porking. Just thinking that like Jason's just under the bed waiting for them and then kills Kevin Bacon. So I had no leads. I mean, I thought it was the Jeep guy too. So I think the movie does a pretty good job of with the misdirection.
She has a pretty fun old lady yell. Although the wiki specifically calls her out as middle-aged woman for some reason. In my head, she's just an older woman. Yeah. She goes like "Mwah!" at one point, I think during the fight, which cracked me up.
She put her all into that, and
she was going all out during their fight, like that beach fight scene. Her head gets lopped off. So those are all of my notes. I think I might bump up my rating to 4 stars in this viewing.
Nice.
A lot of fun. Love her sweater. Fashion icon, Mrs. Voorhees.
Oh yeah.
So I had a great time.
I remember at minute 24. There's 24 minutes left in the movie. that's when everybody else is gone. It's just Alice and Mrs. Voorhees at 24 minutes. Like that whole end sequence is a pretty cool finale, the way it's paced, because it's 24 minutes a movie. It's a long time to have Alice kind of like struggling and dealing with the fallout. I like when Pamela shows up on screen, because you don't know right away she's the killer, but pretty quick she kind of implicates herself. She doesn't waste any time giving herself away because, of the tragedies that have befallen her and her family.
Mm-hmm.
I like that she's talking to Jason too. I think that's a really interesting aspect. She's not just like avenging Jason by murdering kids or counselors. I mean, she has like losing her mind talking to him, but then we come to the realization that Jason is still alive somehow. I like that.
Yeah.
Proto, final thoughts? Brady?
Well, now I feel like I understand why like the core mechanic of these games too is basically you're trying to do like different things to escape from the killer. But if the killer finds you, they then have to like run away and hide again. And that's really what happens in the last 20 minutes of this movie. It's just like scene after scene of the killer catching up to her and her just like getting away and then like running away and hiding. And then like, well, what do I do next? Well, I guess I'll do something different, and like goes out and like find each other again. So it's all making sense now. How about that guy shooting the arrow when the girl was standing right next?
What kind of hazard pay did she get for that? It's crazy.
That guy is a psycho.
But even then, I was about to say it like ruins any chance he had. But like 30 seconds later, she's laughing.
Oh yeah,
almost endeared by the whole thing.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Psychotic.
Is he the one that killed the snake too?
I don't think so.
Sure,
different. I can't tell.
Different guy, maybe.
Different white boy.
He's the one that did the bogey accent. It's like,
do I need a pair of cutoff jeans?
Yes.
Next
the
vacation,
in that.
Maybe.
Like
Proto in yes. Yes.
Just wear everything Kevin Bacon wore in this movie. That's the only clothes you can bring.
I like where she's barricading the door, but I'm pretty sure the door opens outwards.
I had that same thought.
Can we wake up? But yeah, I had a good time with this. It's hard to know because there's so many things that have come after it that have just replicated what they did here. So I wish I would know what it like felt like to see this when it was released. If it felt like fresh and like this was, all unique. But it's such a great idea for a story of like setting at a camp. It's such like a natural fit to a slasher story. So it makes so much sense. I don't know if that continues in the later movies. Like it's still at a camp, but it's like the perfect setting for this type of story. So I had a good time. I'm at 3 stars.
Nice win.
Beautiful.
Danny?
One thing I love is how they film. They do like that handheld kind of peeking behind the tree stuff, and it makes you feel like you're the killer looking at them. But then like the counselors would like turn, and they could easily have seen someone there. So like it's a really cool effect. I don't know what it does. Like there's like you're peeking, you're sneaking with, like you're acting like the killer, but then all of a sudden you become just the audience again. And I really liked that. I thought that was really smart and clever, and this is like one of those like few movies where I just wish I had been there for the release. Like I'm still at 4 stars for this. I really love this film. I really wish I had like zero info coming into it or like, years and years and years of Jason knowledge, like osmosis through never even seeing a Jason film, just knowing the story and his drowning. I kind of wish I had none of that coming into this, because I really think I would enjoy it more. I love the shot of when she's barricaded herself in the pantry, and Miss Voorhees like she cuts away at the wood and she like peeks through. What a fucking great shot of her. Like she's so creepy, and it's just her peeking in, like very much like Kubrick Shining vibes of that that shot. I really love that. So I'm at 4 stars. I really enjoy this film. I don't know if I'll continue the stories, because anything that goes to like Jason X, I'm probably not going to enjoy at that point. But for this first one, I have a great time watching it.
I will say, part two. Part two is very the storyline of part two is really related to part one in terms of like references to Jason's mother and Alice in the beginning of the movie. So it might be worth watching part two as well.
Okay.
But I'm not telling you to do it. You don't have to do it.
Just tell me to do it and I'll do it, Dale.
I might rewatch part two. It's been a few years.
Yeah, I'm trying to think why I had part two at 4 stars. I was looking at it, Slim. So I don't like. I wonder what the difference was
I
in our
was so
mindsets.
sour on it. I remember there's one where Jason. Well, actually, remember the dude from Return of the Living Dead with the suspenders? The
Yeah.
one guy who gets sick. He's in one of these, and he's wearing suspenders.
Yeah.
He's wearing the same outfit.
What the?
But I remember there's one that starts out with like some teens resurrecting Jason. Remember he's like in a grave
Mhm.
and they put like a piece of like iron or steel in his body and it gets electrocuted and he
My
gets like
God.
brought back to life. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's Horseshack from Welcome Back, Kotter. Resurrects Jason.
Isn't there a 3D one? Is 3 in 3D?
Yeah, 3 is in 3D.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Final thoughts, Dale, rating?
I will say, Danny, you brought up when Mrs. Voorhees busts through the pantry.
Mhm.
That the beginning of that struggle is, I mean, she is taking swings with that machete. Like you
Yeah.
can tell it's not, they're just being careful around these, maybe as a foam machete, but this older woman is really putting herself, giving herself away to this role because from this is like two human beings having it out, like struggling to stay alive and not get killed. And the final 20 minutes of the movie are all that. And with Pamela Voorhees as the killer, it's really cool to see the two struggling and like trying to choreograph these struggles because it's not just like you're fighting Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees where there's these big lumbering hulks that, you know, you just blow them up or you know, it's like a little bit of a fight, but you know, you can't take them all one-on-one. So it's like, it's a kind of a real, and it's cool that it's like real in that way. I picture at one point, I think Alice is still in the barricaded Monopoly room. And she's kind of like wondering what the F is going down. And the dead body comes through the window. I picture Pamela Voorhees like throwing the dead body and then running away to the Jeep. Like she's got it all mapped out. Like she's got to have that body staged so she can get it through the window and then run away in the darkness to get in her Jeep so she can then pull up.
I love the idea of her like slipping in the mud, trying to run away, and she's like readjusting herself, getting her hands getting back up, right?
Her
little
deadlifts.
legs.
Her deadlifts to lift that body? Are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
She's
There's
strong.
no way.
Yeah.
Voorhees blood.
Or the way Pamela goes down after getting beat with the cast iron pot the first time she gets knocked out. Like that's and
Doesn't she get hit in the back? Or like is
Yeah.
something knocks her out that looks like it should knock her out? I think she got like hit on her back and she's like out cold.
did the invention of moisture wicking clothing make the shirtless man a non-issue? Like Steve Pro could resurrect the look with the cutoff jeans and whatnot, but you just, I mean, does that body exists? I'm sure underneath a man, but I'm just
Right.
so far away, distant from this sort of idea anymore. I'm at 4 stars. I'm just talking to my friends about it. I kind of want to bump it up to 4.5 stars.
Mm-hmm. The friend zone.
Yeah, the friend
What
zone
happens?
is
That's what
guaranteed star cushion. 4.5 stars?
Is this happening?
4.5
Is this
stars.
happening?
He did.
How many 4Ks of this movie do you own?
How many box sets has this in it?
I own one version of the 4K. I do have the
Okay.
4K box set.
Do
I?
The
I mean,
show?
there was a period of like, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but there was just like constant Friday the 13th 4K.
It was disgusting.
Links, news,
Yeah.
sale prices.
Mm.
Maybe I'm conflating that with Halloween because I feel like there was like a Halloween 4K box set and then it was rare that the 4Ks were sold separately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So many 4Ks.
But you're right
Dale-
about the Friday the 13th as well. Yeah, it's bad.
Dale, do you have a favorite of the franchise?
Personal favorite is part 7,
My God.
but it is only because I saw it at an impressionable time and I liked the inclusion of certain like supernatural elements to it. It is one of the worst rated, but it is my personal favorite. And I think part 4 is my highest rated of the bunch.
They do like a Freddy versus Jason stuff, right?
That's terrible.
Yeah, Freddy vs. Jason came out in the early 2000s, I think.
Isn't there one where he's in space?
Jason X is in
Jason X.
which is the concept alone is kind of cool, you know.
It looks like a sci-fi made-for-TV movie. Like, look, I watched it. Amanda and I went through all of these a couple years ago.
I feel I feel bad, you know, the woman in that, she's like an android. She's like, I always think of her as like the poor man's Katie Sackhoff in that movie. And that's mean. If she's listening right now, I love you. I'm sorry.
with apologies to the actor who played the android.
Yeah.
Can't wait for the David Gordon Green reboot of Friday the 13th.
Oh,
I mean, that Exorcist, I don't know when this is dropping. Maybe it'll be old news, but as of recording, that Exorcist movie's getting dumb.
Yeah. I just got a notification from the Regal app that I should see The Exorcist in 4DX.
No.
Excuse me.
What kind of living nightmare situation would that be?
Let me see. What's the rating at right now? 2.7. So it's hitting Halloween Ends territory. I feel like once Halloween Ends, where the middle one came out, it was like down the tubes real quick.
Slim is going to watch this and say, this is my Phantom Menace or something ridiculous.
I almost reviewed Hellraiser 2 as like, this is my Dune Part 2. Something stupid.
I love it.
I almost used that one.
I want to watch Hellraiser 2 again because you guys have been watching it, and
Oh my God.
reread my
Dale.
view. I just
You need
need
to fire it up.
I just need like sinewy horn in my life
yeah.
again.
The goop alone coming
Yeah.
from those bodies in Hellbound.
And just like the pursuit of the next level. That's what I love about Hellraiser. It's just like somebody is just trying. They don't know what the next level is,
But they want it.
But they want to get there. Yeah. And they're just like sacrificing. Yeah. They're just horny while they're doing it. Like the pleasure and the pain aspect. Oh, fuck. I'm thinking about it now. It's an amazing concept of chasing that dragon.
For those listening, if you enjoyed our conversation with our close personal friend Dale, check out the Bat and Spider podcast for the muck, the grime of cinema. What's on the outlook this month? What's one movie that you can talk about? Maybe it's out already, but what's coming up?
Oh, the pause for editing note.
The face Dale just made. I got to talk about what's coming up. I added one of the movies to my watch list, or one list that was announced. You just announced it.
Spider Baby?
Was it Spider Baby?
Oh, yeah.
The Spider?
Coming up this episode, Spider Baby. It is known that Bat and Spider, we kind of like we'll do anything now as long as it's like in our wheelhouse. It may not be horror, but in October we are sticking to horror. So next up, Spider Baby, starring Lon Chaney Jr. It's a 1967 movie.
Oh.
The werewolf himself.
Who hates Lon Chaney Jr.? Is that Proto or
that's me.
that's Proto?
Yeah.
Chuck does
You have
too.
like a vendetta against him.
It's sick.
Yeah.
3.5 star average though, Spider Baby, on Letterboxd. We'll see. That episode's probably out already, so hopefully folks check out the pod. Dale, thanks for coming on, and we'll see everybody on the next episode.
70mm is a tape deck production featuring original artwork provided by Danny Haas. Spiritual guidance and V'ger, the robot who loves movies, provided by Pertalexis. Producer at large Dale_A. And music composed by Cinematric. Prints and other merch are available on 70mmpod.com. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by me, Slim. Support our Patreon for access to our VHS Village Discord to talk movies with new friends, access to our exclusive episodes in the 70mm vault, discounts on merch, uncut episodes, and a physical membership card mailed to you. To check out other Tape Deck podcasts, find the link in the episode notes. And if you'd like to support our friends at Letterboxd and upgrade to pro or patron status, you can do so with a 20% off discount using the links on 70mmpod.com. Goodbye.
This is a Tape Deck podcast.